Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the Brother Baby Lock Dual Purpose Stylus. So if you have a Luminaire Solaris or a Aveneer Radiance, depending on which brand you have, you will have a Stylus pen, and these are called Dual Purpose Stylus. And the reason they're called dual purpose is that they have functions on this end of the stylus with this little button. And then they have the other end of the stylus is for on the screen if you like to touch your screen instead of with your fingers or with a mouse, you can touch the screen with this. So it's like a screen stylus here. So there's two different ones here. I have both machines. So this one's for the Luminaire. We're going to talk a little bit about these. These run on a battery. So if you haven't done this, if taken yours out yet, by the way, they don't come with the batteries. So they take a AAA battery, and this little door pops off to put your battery in. Okay, so you just need one AAA battery for these. This one's for the Luminaire. This is for the this is the Aveneer's one, and this one's a little more rounded. But they both come with a different stylus. So this particular stylus has the softer little end to use on your screen. The other end is the same on both of them with the button here. So we're going to get into how to use the button end of it most of the time. So we'll be doing that. But then this is the Aveneer stylus, and the dual purpose stylus is different. This is the one with the little disc on the end to put on your screen. And so they did give us this stylus for the Luminaires in the upgrade. And some of you that have like newer Luminaires, like the 3s, would have gotten this with it. They gave you this little stylus here, and it unscrews. So if you've never unplugged and you wonder where's the little end, if you unscrew it from there and tip it over, here's the little stylus. So they gave us a separate stylus to use on the screen in one of the, I think it was in the 3rd upgrade. It would have been for the XP3s. So, and I don't use the stylus on the screen much because I'm left-handed and the screen is like tipped the wrong direction for me. So I generally use my fingers. And if I need more precise movements on the screen, like when I'm using Design Center, I use a mouse. The Luminaires take a wired mouse. The Aveneer, which I have here, actually I'm using it today, so I don't have to stick my finger in front of the screen. It uses wireless mouse, so it's really cool. Also the Luminaires, and I'll show you also where these things can be stored. The Luminaire came with this little saddle like this. So the little pen, I don't want this to roll off here. The little pen goes in here like this. And then this part here, you can see there's like a little end. It's down on the end of the machine, like under the hand wheel. There's a little plug you take out and you just push this in to hang on the side of your machines. If you had Dream Machines or Destinies, they had a little stylus pen over there too with a little saddle. So that's what this one's for the Luminaire. Now on the Aveneers and the Radiances, Aveneer Radiance, this was for Luminaire Solaris, this one with the saddle. For the Aveneer and Radiance, they made the pen round, and I thought, oh no, now it's going to like roll off all the time. Well, they gave us a nice spot for it. There's a spot in the box, so I just keep it in the box if I'm not going to be using it a lot. But they gave us a spot on top of the machine. So this is my Aveneer. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it too well because it's white, but there's a little divot right here in front of the bobbin winder, right here. And then this is to lay that in, and then it doesn't roll around. So that's really nice that they gave us some place on top of the machine so that it's not over and behind on the side. So this one you can hang on the side of the machine right here of your Luminaire or your Solaris, and this one can lay up here at the top. So it's very nice. So I'm not going to be using this one today, but the function that I'm going to be doing with the button, you can see the button on, this is the Luminaire Solaris one. Stylus. So the button's right here, and it's going to be the same as the other one, just a little different shape. Okay. And I think everybody knows how to use the stylus part that you can touch your screen with the other end. This one had the soft one, and I remember when they did this, everybody complained that it was so large. It's a little hard to work with Design Center with this large end. So they went ahead and did that other pen that I showed you, the other stylus pen with the smaller end. So the new one is that smaller one, which is very handy. The only thing about this is there's a little cap on the end of it. And you know, the first thing I'm going to do is lose this cap. So I leave it on all the time because I don't use that end of the pen very often. So the stylus. So, okay. So now let's talk about this. So there's two ways you can use a stylus pen on the Aveneer and one on the Luminaire. Give me a second. I just dropped the other one on the ground here. There we go. Okay. So on the Aveneers and the Radiances, there's two different ways. And I did show you in the last video when we talked about, let me bring this down so you can see the screen a little bit better. When we talked about the projection camera, I showed you a little bit at the end, one of the things that the Aveneer and the Radiance can do that the Luminaire and the Solaris cannot. But the first thing I'm going to show you is what both of them can do. So that you can also use the stylus pen, Dual Purpose Stylus, they call it. You can use this in the sewing end, which is kind of cool because you can audition your sewing stitches and then select them, and you can actually alter the sizes, the lengths, and everything with the stylus pen right on the fabric. So it's really kind of neat how this works. So we're gonna play with that now. So I think what I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit more visual, I'm in the utility stitches here right now. So these are kind of, you know, your zigzag and your blind hemming stitches and all that. I'm going to go over here to these character decorative stitches, just so that we have some prettier stitches to look at, and then you'll be able to see them a little bit better, and they're also a little bigger and wider. So I touched the character decorative stitch tab. So we're gonna play with some of these. There's a bunch of different ones up here. Brother even has a Disney one now. The Brother machine will have the Disney ones that are sewn, and they're neat. But we'll just use these for today, so for the examples, okay? So we're going to start with the sewing stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over here so you can see what I'm doing over here. Now, I am using the projector. This is going to be connected to the projector. And remember, so I have mine set up so that you should be able to see it fairly well. Sometimes I have a little trouble with you seeing the projector because it's a camera looking at a camera. So just be aware that you may notice it may be a little hard to see some of the things. Okay. So we need to turn on the projector to get started. So I should have stayed over here. So let's go over here for a second. And remember, we talked about the projection on the embroidery side. So now we're on the sewing side of the machine, and we're going to use the little cone just like we did on the embroidery side. And so if I take my mouse with my Aveneer, I go up here and it says projector functions. So we're going to be using the projector. So I'm going to click that first to get things turned on. And then things are going to turn on down here. Okay. And now we're going to use the, hopefully I can get, we're going to select a stitch first over here too. So I'm just going to select one of these stitches. Let's select this one, maybe. Okay. I just need a stitch selected. There we go. Okay, so now we got something on the screen over here. Okay. So I'm going to come down here. So I just selected a screen. It tells me what foot to put on the machine and everything. So these are going to be with the end foot, which is the monogramming foot. So, but now you can see what's on this screen. We don't need to use the screen to do some testing with these designs. With the decorative stitches, we're going to come over here to the, hopefully if I stay kind of at an angle, hopefully you'll be able to see this. So the stitch that I chose is right here on the screen, see, but this is projected. So you can see that if I put my hand over there, you can see that it's the projector. I have my projector set up to be, I have the colors set kind of to a special color so that you can see it better. I have my background on black. That seems to work best for my projector to look at, my camera to look at the projector. And then I have my lights turned down quite low on my machine, just so you can see it without having all the little prismy things going on here. So, okay. So when we turn that projector on and we have to select a stitch. So if you come over here and you look, oh, there's no buttons, you need to select a stitch first. So just select a stitch on the screen before you bring it over. So like if I want to do this one, I'll select a different one, and then a different stitch will show up here. Okay, so just do that before you go over here. So now let's talk about the buttons. So all of these little buttons, now on the Luminaires and the Solarises, the buttons are going to be in a slightly different orientation, but they're still the same symbols. So you'll understand when you see them. Okay, so I'm going to grab my pen that I have our battery in now, and we're going to be using this end that kind of crooks up like this and has the button on it. Okay, so let's look at some of these things. So there's a couple things we can do here. You probably won't be able to see it too well, but it looks like a little thread spool. And this is where I can change the color of my my stitch. So like right now it's kind of a purpley blue, and I can change this. So if I touch that little button, see how my colors are changing for my stitches. There's only about 3 colors available. I think 3 or 4 colors available on the Luminaire and Solaris, and this one has 16. So whichever one we think we're going to be able to see the most, so I can go through all these different colors. And I think I'm going to do, the yellow really shows up nice, and so did that reddish color. Maybe there's not as many colors. You see how many there are? 1, that's kind of a blue, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4. So there is only 4 on this, but there's more background colors. So there's only 4 colors for the actual stitches. And I think there's only maybe 3 or 4 on the Luminaire. So maybe they're the same then for the stitch color. That's the stitch color. So we'll just leave it on this one. It shows up pretty well. And then the second little button over here, okay, is for the background color. So I'm not going to change this because this color is on black right now. So if you touch that though, and I'm pushing the button in every time I touch this, when I do that, this little box is going to pop up and there's all these colors. So this is where the 16 colors are for the background, but not for the stitch color. There's only 4 evidently. I thought there were 16 for both, but there's not. There's only 4 for the design, for the stitch, and 16 for the background. So I have mine set up on black right now so that you can see. But if there's another color that you want, you can choose the color. You click on it with your little wand, and then there's a little check mark right here, and then that sets it. And I'm going to click that, and then that box closes. So this one's for the thread colors. This one's for the backgrounds, the second one from the left up here, okay? You can close the projector down by clicking this X. We'll go back to this other one in a minute. This little X thing, if I click on that, it actually turns off the projector then. So then we'd have to turn it back on. So I'll turn it back on over on the screen over here again. So that's nice to have that. It's still on that same stitch that we were on. So the X is for stop, turning off the projector. So that's pretty easy. Okay, and then these buttons down here, this is the width of the stitch. This is the length of the stitch. And I believe this is left, right, shift, as I remember. I better check. Yes, this is left, right, shift. What that means is it takes the entire stitch design and moves the whole thing over to the right or the left, when the width just makes it wider, the whole thing wider. So left, right, shift is what, like if you need to avoid an area on your fabric, you can move the whole thing over to the right or to the left, okay? So this is what's fun about this pen. I actually kind of like using it. It's really fun to choose stitches, and it's nice to be able to see them basically stitched out without actually having to stitch every one. Because, I used to use these decorative stitches. Sorry, I'm at the store. The phone's going to ring and we're actually closed, so I'm not going to answer it. It'll only ring 4 times, I promise. So this stitch right here, It's nice to be able to see it, what it looks like. And then if you need, have some other colors like thread colors, you can kind of audition your thread color too to help you out. And that's what that thread, it only gives you 4 choices, but you can kind of have an idea then. Okay, so I like the blue. It shows up pretty well. Okay. Then what you can do is, let's say, okay, well, I think that one's kind of neat, but I'd like to choose some other ones. And this third button right here, okay, and I know you can't see it terribly well, but it looks like it has stitches in it. I'm just going to click on that. So I'm using the little button here. I'm going to click on that one. And then what it does is it opens up a different screen. So now on this screen, and the Luminaire looks slightly different, but you will understand by clicking that same button, it opens up a little screen too, and it's very slightly different, but you'll understand. But what it does is it opens up 3 designs or 3 stitches, the one ahead of the one that you have chosen and the one behind the one you have chosen. And then let's say, well, that gives me 3 options. Like, well, I want to see what the next one over to the right actually looks like on the piece of fabric. So then these little buttons right here allow me to go forward and backward. So I'm just going to click the arrow to the right. And then that is now the stitch that is selected. So you can see it also brought up yet another stitch then. So it just kind of moves on down the little list. So if you're kind of looking over on your machine, it just moves on down the list of designs. So I don't say, I'm not sure I like that one either. Let's do another one, check it. So whatever one is in the center is the one that's actually showing on your fabric. And you can choose, you can go keep going. I like to do this and just look at them, and then you can kind of see what they look like if they were stitched out, and you can see how big they are because these are like real size. So you can see a lot of these are pretty good sized patterns that are coming up. These machines sew sideways, back, forwards, backwards, sideways, and diagonally. So a lot of the decorative stitches are rather large, which is nice. And then you can use them like in small borders and that type of thing. So here's another one. This one's kind of neat. Oops. It's like, there we go. This one's kind of cool. I kind of like that one. And let's do another one. So that's what I like about this. Then I can sit here and audition all these cool patterns and see what they look like without having to actually stitch them out. Because I used to stitch them out on a piece of fabric to see if I liked them. And this way I can just look at them with the projector. Let's go back. I'm going to hit the left hand arrow here. I'm going to go back. I kind of like this one. So then to choose that one, if that's the one you want to use, then click there's a little check mark right here, and you click the check mark. And then it will bring back my other tools. So let's say, well, I really like this, but I'd like it to be just a little narrower. So I can hit, this is the width, the top one's the width, this is the length of the stitches, and this is the left, right shift. So I am going to do, let's make it just a little narrower. I'm going to hit the negative. There's a positive negative button. So I'm going to hit negative and see how, can you see it moving just a little bit smaller? And if it beeps, it probably means that that's as far as you can go. Like if it goes click, click, or beep, beep, it'll basically be that you can't do it anymore. How about let's make it a little longer maybe. See what it looks like if you make it a little longer. Make the stitches a little longer. And you can see it change on the fabric. It's really neat. And then here's the left, right shift. So if I move it this way or this way, the negative will go to the left. So it's taking the entire design and moving it over, not just making it narrower or wider. So let's go back this way. Can you see it, the whole thing? It doesn't move very much, just a little bit. But it's moving the whole stitch that way or this way, depending on the button that I'm pushing. So that's what's cool is you can audition everything right on the screen before you stitch it out. So you don't have to waste fabric to stitch it out. You can just use your projector, and it gives you the real size of everything. So it's pretty neat. So let's go back to this other button right here. This is the one with the stitches again. So we can go back and maybe we can audition a few other ones. So it takes a second. for it to come up. Sometimes my projector does little weirdo things. So see, it's probably going to do a weirdo thing here because it's not bringing anything up. So if that happens, I'm just going to cancel the projector over on the screen. Don't be worried if something happens. There's a few little bugs that they're still working out. So I'm just going to go down here and hit cancel. Okay. Turns the projector off. And then I'm going to go back and turn it back on. Okay. So here's our design that we were playing with. So we'll go back over here. And I'm sorry that that happens, but it does happen occasionally. And I've had that happen on my Luminaire also, not just the Aveneer. So, all right, so there's our design that we had. And let's say we want to go back and check some of the other ones out. So we're going to click this one again. And it'll hopefully bring up our designs. Or maybe not. So I may have to restart the machine. So if it doesn't work right, correctly by turning off the camera and turning it back on. See, this should have brought up my different designs I wanted. Okay, so let's click here. And then I'm going to go ahead and restart the machine so that it should work then. So we'll do it. If this happens, don't be concerned. They're working on a few of these little quirks. And as I'm using my projectors and my cameras more, I just find these little quirks occasionally. And I like to leave them in the videos because then you realize it's okay and you can fix it. So I just turned off the machine. I'm letting it reset. It's coming back up again. I just did the new update on my Aveneer. When was it? Day before yesterday. So so far things have been doing pretty well, but I still notice if I have a problem, it's with the projector usually. So, all right, so we're just going to let it reset here. It's thinking. I've noticed that everything thinks, after the update, things think a little faster. So it resets a little faster, which is awesome. It was a little slow before, so I like this. Okay, so now we're back. I'm going to go ahead and raise my foot up again. Put my fabric under here. And then we're going to go back, and this is good review because then you remember how to get this turned on. So again, just like we did in the embroidery side, we used the little projector function, or I call it the little cone head, the little button here that turns the projector on. And it's turned on my projector. And then let's go ahead and go over to the decorative stitches so we have something more interesting to look at. Let's go over and look at the Disney ones in here. The Disney ones are really cute that they stitch out. Let me go get that one. So they don't have as many, but they're cute. So let's go ahead and we'll choose one. There's one with Mickey and the little stars. So we'll come back over here. Sorry, I'm trying to be very careful not to move too fast. Okay, so now let's see if it'll let us go back to our stitch so we can select from multiple stitches. So I'll go grab this. There we go. So now it's happy again. So there's our stitches. Okay, now there wasn't one. I chose the first one, so that's why there's nothing over here. So let's go to the right, and this one's a little Mickey head, I think. Yep, so it's got a little, oh, it's Mickey and Minnie. So this one's Minnie because it's got the bow and the hair. Let's do another one. So here's one that I think it's it just says Mickey Mouse. So it shows out the letters. Okay, and I'm just using the arrows here, and I'm touching the button each time, and this one says Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse. And what else we got? Oh, and this is the little hand, Mickey's little hand here. Okay. And then, oh, there's a shoe. That's Mickey's shoe. So let's go back to I'm going to go back. I'm hitting the left hand button over here. Let's see. Let's go back to Mickey Mouse, and we'll choose Mickey Mouse. And then to choose that designer stitch, we're going to click the little check mark. And then we can do a little bit of changing. Some of the Disney stuff does not allow us to do as much, so it may not let me make it bigger. No, can you hear it do the click? So the Disney stuff will not allow you to change the sizes, which is normal because that's like it is in the embroidery side as well. You might be able to move the left-right shift though. Yes, so that will let me to move the whole thing up or down, but it won't let me change the size at all because it is a Disney thing. So, Okay, so this is the pen stylus, the dual purpose stylus, using the sewing side. So both the Luminaire Solarises and the Aveneer Radiances have this ability, so you can go in and you can audition your sewing stitches, and it is really fun to play with. And you can change the sizes on right here on the fabric, and you can, you know, change the colors of the stitches so you can see things better. So I encourage you to play with this. It's very fun. So we talked about this next thing in the last video. Also, when we were working with the projection camera, but I did find out a couple of other things about it, so I thought I'd show you again. So the Luminaire and the Solaris allow you to use your stylus, your dual purpose stylus, for this purpose, for the on the sewing side. Okay. Now the Aveneer and the Radiance allow me to also use that on the embroidery side, which we talked about last time. So I am going to go ahead, and again, I can turn off the camera with the little X. So we'll just turn the camera off. I'm going to push the little button. Every time you touch it, push the button, and it'll make it go away. So then that turned off my camera. So I'm going to grab a hoop here, if you give me a minute. And I'm going to hit my home screen over here, and we're going to go to embroidery for a minute. I'm going to show you a couple of things. We'll review part of what we did in the last video about the cameras. Okay, and then we're going to hit embroidery. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take my sewing foot off. I won't put my embroidery foot on because we're not going to sew. But I wanted to show you on this. Let me get this little hoop in here so you can kind of see it. Okay. So I put my hoop in. I'm going to go ahead and get a design. Maybe. Use the mouse. I got to pick a kind of a small thing because I've got a small hoop in here. Put this little bunny rabbit. He's cute. He's not very big. Let's see. There might be one something just a little bit bigger. I've only got a 5x7 hoop in here, so we'll find something smaller. I always have trouble with the mouse with selecting designs. I usually have to oh, here's this little owl. How about this little owl? Look at this one. He's pretty good sized. Okay, I'm going to hit set as if I was going to set it. So the set button was right down here. Okay, and now this is the editing screen. So I discovered something that I didn't realize in the last video, that there's one more option available for this function on the Aveneers and the Radiance. But you have to be in the embroidery edit screen, which is here. So see, it says edit. And if I hit embroidery, then I'm in the embroidery screen. And it does, one of the functions does not work here, but it will work in the edit screen, which is the previous one. So if I hit return here, whoops, I didn't mean to hit return that many times. Let's try it again. Okay, so now we're in the edit screen up here. So that's where we want to be. So this is a function that only works in the Aveneer and the Radiance. Okay, so we're going to turn that projector on. Again, our projector's right here. It's the little cone, and I'm going to hit the little cone. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. So it's thinking here and getting stuff organized. Okay. Now up here next to the cone are a few of the settings for the projection in the embroidery. Okay, so you can click on this, and you can also tell the machine never to bring the projector edit with stylus on. You can turn that off. I think I showed you that before. And then you can also set up your background color here. I have mine set to black so that you can see. Okay. And if you don't want any of these editing tools to ever come up on your hoop, you can turn this off here. So that's what that little settings is for up there. Okay, so we're going to click OK. I'm going to leave mine on. All right. So now let's go over to, we talked about a little bit more last time in the last video about how to move the stuff around on the screen, because you can reach up and move things around on the screen. I did that because the Luminaire and the Solaris do not allow me to do this on my hoop. But this video where I wanted to talk more specifically about the Stylus pen in the hoop, okay? So remember, we're in the editing screen. So let me go over here and I'm going to show you some stuff. We talked about this last time, but I'll just show you again because it's always good to see. And I do apologize. The buttons are white, and so they're a little hard to see, but I'll point to them and I think you'll be able to see there's a designation between them. I wished I could make it darker. It's just not, I can't get my light any lighter than this, or my light on the machine keeps it from showing as well. Okay, so there's arrow keys here. So here's our design up here, okay? And we're going to first talk about how to move the design around in the hoop with the stylus, the dual purpose stylus and the buttons. And we did this before. So there's 2 arrows here. These first 2 little buttons, you can kind of see a black line in between. One has an arrow to the left, one has an arrow to the right. So if I'm going to take my stylus pen again and push the button down. And if I do the one to the left, it's going to bring all my buttons up over here. So if you're working with a pattern that you need to get the buttons out of your way, then you can move them over here to the left, which is very handy. You can also, this arrow here, there's arrow here and an arrow here. There's one that's pointing to the right. If I click on that one, push my button in, then it will move it over to this side and get it out of the way. Okay. And then there's still 2 arrows there. One's pointing to the left, one's pointing down. So the one pointing down, if I click that one, it's going to put the buttons back down at the bottom again. Okay, so that's those 2 buttons there. And that's how you move your, if you wanted to move over to the left-hand side, you click the left-hand button. If you wanted to move to the right-hand side, you click the right-hand arrow button. And if you wanted to go back down to the bottom, you click the down arrow button. Okay, so that's what those buttons are. The one next to it has kind of like some little dash lines all the way around, kind of. And this one, so what I'm in right now is actually going to move the design, not the projection area. It's going to move the design. But if I need to move my projector, like my design, you can see is rather small, so it shows in the entire design in the projection area. If you have to move your projector around, the next one over, it looks like a square with like little tick marks in the corner and in the center. I'm just going to click on that one, and then that's going to take me into the projector screen where I can move the projection area. So like these buttons that are here will allow me to move it diagonally, side to side, and up and down. Okay, so that's what that button does right there, is it gets me into the projection moving area. So I can move my projector up or down. I'm probably not going to be able to move it much, maybe a little bit left or right, because I have a small hoop in. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the other side. Okay, there we go. So that is the projection, moving the projection area. When I click that same button again, that's right here, it will take me back to the editing of the design placement again. So this is the one thing that I didn't realize in the last video. So right now I've got my moving arrows here, and this will move my design upward. And it just moves it just a little bit at a time. Okay, this will move it to the side. This will move it to the right. This one was to the left. Okay, and this is down. Okay, so that's what those buttons do. There are arrows on either end here, and you probably can't see them. They're like double arrows. So if I click that one time, and remember, we're in the editing screen this time. I haven't hit the word embroidery on the screen yet. We're going to click on one of these. Doesn't matter which one. Then it's going to take me, and this is the one I didn't realize was here. This is actually the size. So I can change the size of the design here by using, so this arrow, there's arrows like pointing up and down, and this one's side to side. So in other words, I can stretch it up, or I can pull it out this way or make it smaller. But if I want it to stay in aspect ratio, in other words, I don't want to skew it, there's a little button right here, and it has a little padlock on it. So if I click on that first, it locks the aspect ratio of my design, and then I can just use the plus, one of the plus signs to make it larger, and it will all come up in aspect ratio. So if I click that, it'll make it bigger. You can probably see it getting just slightly bigger on the screen. Okay? And I can make it smaller by using a negative, and either one works because it's locked. And this is the one thing I didn't realize was here, because it only is available in embroidery edit. So this is sizing my design. Okay? And if I click one of those long arrows again here, then it allows me to rotate. So that it'll let me rotate like 10 degrees, 1 degree, 0.1 degree. So if I do 10 degrees, you'll be able to see it. Rotate. Okay, so that's rotating to the left. I can rotate to the right by touch, and I'm touching the button every time I do this. Okay, so there's, I can rotate again to the left and to the right. Okay, so that one is rotate. So there's rotate, size, and move the design around. So, and this one moves the design around. All right. Now, when I go into embroidery, so I'm going to go over here and click the embroidery button. Okay, over here. If I click embroidery down here, it's going to move the carriage, and it turned off the camera also. And let's go ahead and turn on the projector again. So if I go up here to the little projector cone again and click that first and click OK, it will come back over here. And now I'm going to show you that that one item is missing. And I didn't realize that that was not available on the embroidery screen, the sizing. So this is the moving buttons again. Okay. And if I click the little double arrows on the ends, it gives me, oh, it did give me the sizing. No, I'm not on embroidery. Just a minute. I didn't hit the button hard enough. Let me try it again. There it went. Okay, there it finally went. So this is, now we're on the embroidery screen. I'm sorry. There we go. I didn't hit the button hard enough. My fingers don't work very well on touch screens, so I struggle. Okay, so now we're on the embroidery screen. So I still have these same little moving buttons up here. Okay, but now I'm just getting the rotation. This is the rotate, so you can see left and right. And then if I hit it again, it takes me back to the move the design buttons. So that other sizing is only in embroidery edit. So that was a new one I didn't realize. I found all the buttons and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And so I wanted to show you the difference. So if you've hit embroidery already, you won't be able to resize it with the stylus, the dual stylus here, dual purpose stylus. So I thought that was a neat new thing that I found by just playing around with the buttons. I'm like, hey, there's an extra button in there. So I found it it was because I was in embroidery edit still. Also, I wanted to tell you that for the people that have the Aveneers, of course, the Disney is not sizable, just like those sewing stitches were not sizable. Neither are the embroidery designs. You can rotate. They do allow you to rotate and move them around the screen, but they don't allow you much editing with the Disney because it's Disney. So just so you're aware of that. Okay. And then if you want to get rid of all these buttons, you push the button over here on the right, and it's going to like bring it down. So I'm going to push this one, maybe. There we go. It comes down, and then you get rid of the buttons on your screen. Okay, and if you need to open it up again, the button's right here. You touch it with your pen, and then it will bring it back open again. So the pen stylus, I call it the pen stylus, but the official name is Dual Purpose Stylus, is really fun. They give you, I like that they gave us some embroidery options with it in the Aveneer and the Radiance. And I really have always enjoyed using my stylus on the Luminaire as well and the Solaris, because then I could you know, like audition my sewing stitches. So I hope you enjoyed a little bit of information regarding the dual purpose stylus. It's a really fun thing to play with. You can just take some time and turn on the machine and turn on your projector and use the pen. Make sure you put your batteries in first. And they also recommend, if you don't use it for a while, to remove the battery just like any other thing, so that the batteries don't go bad inside the little pens. So but I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a fun one for me to do. And I wanted to show you some of these functions. And probably one of the next classes we'll learn about making buttonholes, because the Luminaire, Solarises, and the Aveneers have really cool buttonhole features that the other machines don't have. And the Aveneer has a new one in that you can use the projector to help you line up your buttonholes. So it's pretty cool. So I think we're going to maybe do buttonholes in the next video. So thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to join my Facebook group on Facebook, it's called Sew Along with Jan. Come join us. We have a lot of fun there and have beautiful pictures right now. It's near Christmas, so a lot of people doing Christmas cards and showing me designs and things they're giving away as gifts. And also, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Sew Along with Jan, please do. It really helps me, and then you'll have lots of notifications of the new videos that I put up. So thank you so much for joining me, and I have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.